Excuse me.
Hello, everybody, and my name is Amanda Calendar, and welcome to the More Sugar podcast, where we have conversations to help heal and encourage. It's been a minute since I've done a conversation. Last series I done was very successful. It was titled "Coping with the Loss of a Mother," and in that time away from the microphone, I'm turning 50, so a lot of things came to my mind. It's like when I turned 40, a light switch came on. So you kind of want to deal with, well, for me personally, I want to deal with what's going on in the next phase of my life and talk about things. Everything goes back to my book I put out in 2020, Sugar My Grits, Grief to Gratitude Through Grace. And in my book, I spoke about my parents and how their parenting or lack thereof contributed to who I was as a parent or who I had to become as a parent. And over the year, um, my guest Salima, we went to high school together. Salima, I noticed her presence on social media with what she called soul facing, and what I didn't know in high school, and I'm not sure what I want to say this. When I knowing you in high school, I knew that your dad was prominent in your life. I knew your dad was there all the time, and I knew that I never saw your mother, but I never knew why because I knew my mother wasn't active. So I always assumed growing up in the ghetto in the hood that maybe her mom's on drugs or maybe her mom is dead. And I think I was a little bit I talk about in my book at that age I was struggling with my sexuality. So I don't really think that, excuse me, I had the wherewithal to say, hey, I was already an asshole. Like I didn't want to say, hey, where's your mom? But
Right.
when you started soul facing and I watched a couple of lives and it turns out that your mom just left.
Mhm.
So can you kind of give us like a synopsis of that uh a cause of events?
Yeah. First of all, thank you for watching the lives. That's dope. And yes, we have known each other since it was high school, but we wasn't high school kids. We were 12-year-olds.
Yes.
We were
Yes.
literally 12-year-old children thrown into this abyss of a high school, and literally just told to perform. But in terms of my mother decided that she and I don't even know if this was a decision that she made because I've never asked her, but based on my experience, I can honestly say that she decided around the time that I was 6 years old that she was not going to be a parent anymore. And up until that point, her and my father had did a piss poor job of parenting, piss poor, and they
Mm.
continue to do piss poor jobs of parenting. And it was tit for tat with them. So the way we actually, me and my brother, when I say we, me and my brother Rashid, the way we ended up with my father, a couple of years before that. So when I was 4 years old, my mother picked us up and moved us to Atlanta and didn't tell him. And so
Mm.
it took him a few months or whatever to track us down, figure out where we were. He figured out where we were. We had phone conversations with him regularly, but we didn't see him. He didn't come to visit. We didn't come back to Jersey until we moved back to Jersey. And when we moved back to Jersey, that was his lick back. I'm gonna take the kids. Yeah, it
Okay.
had nothing to do with you're unstable, your ass is crazy. These kids don't need to be dragged up and down the highway like this. It had
Right.
everything to do with I'm gonna get my lick
His
back.
ego.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah.
get my lick back. And
So you
so
guys were caught in like a battle between them two.
always,
Okay.
always, always. And he he called my grand. This was so wild. My mother, back it up just a little bit, just to give you the dynamic of what was going on the day that we went to live with my father. My mother is the oldest of five girls. When I was born,
Mm.
when I was born, my aunt Bonnie, who at the time was 19, was on her third child, and all
Ooh.
the rest of my aunts were teenagers. My Aunt Carla wasn't even a teenager yet. When I was born, I think she was like either 11 or 12. Yeah, yeah.
How old was your mother when she had you?
21. 21. And so my grandmother was super young, still raising children. And that particular day, it was my Aunt Bonnie's three kids, me and Rashid, and my Aunt Lisa, who was 18 and had just had her first baby. So all of these kids is in the house. Needless to say, we running around being kids.
Right.
If you could get rid of a couple of them, listen.
So it was multi generations in one house.
Listen. And if somebody show up at the door, somebody daddy show up at the door saying, I'm gonna take my two, and I got 89 of these people in here, and I gotta go to work in the morning. Yeah, take your two, son. Take your two. And so he took us.
Not 89.
Yeah, it was a lot. And it was like the other cousins and the other aunts' kids, like my grandmother's cousins' kids was over there. It was a lot of kids in the house all the time.
Well,
And
that's not
so
uncommon in our culture.
it's not, but it's very tiring. Understanding that now from the perspective of a 50-year-old woman, yeah, I'd be ready to get rid of some children too. And of
Yeah.
course, sending them with their father, you don't think that this is about to be a whole shit show. She packs us up, we go with him, and we never return. Yeah, yeah. And a few months later, we end up in court. And my parents, they like to fight each other a lot on any occasion just because the day ended in the
So you're
letter Y
watching this as you grow up. So
all the time.
technically your mom wasn't the only issue here.
No, never, never,
Okay.
never, never. No, it
So
definitely was
so you
fit
think
to
that you
to
think that she
existence.
left because she got tired of fighting him?
No, no, not at all. No, she enjoyed that mess. No, 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 no. They got a kick out of it. This was the toxicity of it. Like they really, really
Hmm.
got a kick out of getting their lick back with each other. And I'm talking like running each other over with cars. I'm
So you
talking
live like Mr. and Mrs. Smith, but with
Lisa.
kids.
Yes, yes, yes,
Wow.
yes, yes. And that was on a regular. It made sense to me, like after I looked at it, from the adult perspective, it made sense that she packed up and left Atlanta and left Jersey and moved to Atlanta. She was running. She was running. It made sense that she didn't communicate that to him. She was running from him. And it wasn't that she was running from, this dude that was like just abusive to her. They were fighting every single day. I'm talking,
You think they were never compatible?
I think they were compatible enough to bring the two children into the world that they were supposed to bring into the world, and that's where it ended. And I think that neither one of them understood their energetic forces and
Ooh.
understood what they were producing. And I also think that they they weren't required to understand it. They were only required to do it. And that is why it was so easy for them. And it remains so easy for them to be hands off with their children and grandchildren.
When you say not required, does that mean because other adults stepped in to help?
No, no. When I say not required, I'm talking on a sole contractual level. They were only required to bring us forth. They were not required to attend to us.
Who says that?
So when we look at soul contracts, family soul
Hmm.
contracts, right?
Hmm.
There's always gonna, and you and I touched on this when we talked. There's always gonna be one in the family that is the quote unquote black sheep of the family, the one that has
Right.
been through the most hell in the family, the one that don't really talk to nobody in the family, and everybody trying to figure out what's wrong with that one, and that's the one that gets sacked with all of the burdens. It is because when you're in these energetic forms with your family, and this is prior to you making your entrance into the world as a human, that one, it's a kind of like a vote almost, right? So that one is decided. That's the strongest one of us. This is the one who is going to be the bearer of the light. And in order for that one to bear the light, that one has to experience all of the darkness. So we have to get that one to the earth, but then we cannot touch that one. There will be others that come to rally. There will be others that do whatever they do. And none of us remember any of this when we're born. We don't remember. Birth is a very traumatic experience. We don't remember any of the stuff. We
So
just come out breathing.
you're talking like in forms of like the Matrix, like you're in this pod.
Yes.
Is that what you believe?
Yes.
Like you're in this pod, and they say, well, this particular kid, when they come into the universe, this is going to be their responsibility to carry that burden for the family.
Yes. Yes.
Interesting.
Yes. Because you go through all of this
So
craziness.
that's your concept where Christians say God never gives you more than you can handle. That's like your parallel.
I guess so. Yeah, that part. I think I guess that would be the kind of mm, the less deeper way of explaining it. Because
Okay.
with that, when people say that to you, it's like then you get the questioning God. Well, what the fuck you mean? Well, who
Yeah.
told you I can handle all this? Because I don't feel like it right now, you know?
Well, it depends if you have the spiritual knowledge and the spiritual wherewithal to understand that questioning God is allowed. Because I didn't know that that was allowed
That
until
part.
I got older.
But think
Because
about
you
how
accepted everything that happened to you.
But think about how we're raised, especially in our black community. We are taught, do not question God. God's word is
Right.
final, right? And so
Right.
when all of these things are going on and an older person looks at you and says something like, God don't give you no more than you can handle, baby. You get to questioning God. You get into a serious argument with God because who the
Hmm.
fuck told you I was good enough to handle this bullshit, sir?
Yeah, I have a friend of mine now that's on her Facebook page, and she doesn't have her family are estranged, and that's just she's just crying out for help.
I would
Like
love to
God, I
talk
can't
to
take
her.
no more.
Yeah, yeah. It ain't
Hmm?
it because I would love to talk to her and just tell her, honey, you in the best space possible. All of it rides on her.
Actually, I'm gonna give you her number. What part? You in Charlotte, right?
No, I'm
She's
in
in
Chapel Hill.
Okay, you might be close to her. She's in Garner.
Garner is about an hour from here. She's pretty close.
Okay, yeah, just just somebody to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. I don't
She's like
know.
a man. What they say, a man without a country.
Bless her.
It's not
You
funny,
know what
but
that's like. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
she's like,
And the other thing about that person in the family, and I know it's been true for me, I'm the matriarch of my family. How is this possible? I have no parental guidance whatsoever. I've never been
yeah. So
parented.
let's get into that. So at what age did you realize like she's because it was back and forth for a while, right?
Mhm, mhm. It was
So
never
what age?
back and forth. So 0 to 6, she definitely had custody, but I never remember us not living with either my grandmother or my great grandmother or my
Okay,
father's mother,
that's
my
similar.
other
Yeah,
grandmother.
up until that point we had like similar stories. But at what age do you realize like she's gone and she's never coming back,
That day in court.
and I have to navigate?
That day in
Oh, there
court.
was court.
Oh, she made it
How old were
very
you?
clear. 6. She made it very clear when that judge made his decision because they had a fight in the hallway outside of the chambers. Them two, when I say locked ass in the hallway, mind you, this is 1979, 1980. So security was different, y'all, right? But they had a
So did
fight.
she give up custody or she lost custody? There's a difference.
The judge gave him temporary custody because he interviewed me and Rashid. So Judge Glickman, I will never forget that man. He asked us, does mommy work? Where does she work? What kind of work? Do you enjoy living with mommy? All of these things. How often do you see daddy? All of these things, right? And so, of course, me being the university high school on her way to university high school kid, I'm answering all of the questions. Right, right, right. I'm answering everything, right? Proper prim, all of the shits, right? All of the things that we had to do to get into university high school. This is me at 6, right? And so
Wow.
Yeah, and so the judge took that, and I remember him saying at the end of it, he told her, he said, "Mom, you have to get a real job," because she was working in a bar, and she used to take us to work with her whenever she had the day shift. Right, right, right. Yeah, yeah. So,
I've been in a bar and it wasn't even a job. I had to sit in the car while my mother partied
girl,
overnight.
we sat at the end of the bar with Shirley Temples with no liquor and barbecue potato chips.
Ooh,
Okay? Yeah. Um and the judge told her, like, you have to get a real job, and the kids are gonna stay with their father. You must get a real job. I want to see y'all back in however many months, yada yada yada. And so when it was all said and done, we ran over to her, of course, because we're realizing, like, we gotta go back with this nigga, and we ain't really want to go back with him. So we're
right.
hugging her, we're crying and crying and crying. And I remember she dropped down on her knees, and my brother was like, just like latched onto her. And I was just standing there looking at her like, bitch, you gonna let this happen? And she looked at me and she said, I don't give a fuck what happens. You better take care of my motherfucking son. And it was on and
She
popping
said
from
that to you
yes, very much so.
as a 6 year old. Do you think that there was some mental illness?
There wasn't?
Listen,
Yeah.
so so so
Shit like that to somebody that's sick.
so because of that mental issue, would you rather her stayed and been a horrible mom or left and been an absent one?
You know something? For a very long time, I always thought about how much better my life would have been had she stayed, and maybe her life would have went differently had she stayed, and all of the things. Um, but we about to dip off into something altogether different. I had a reading, ancestral reading about a year ago, I think, and I called for my great grandmother because I really needed to understand what the fuck is wrong with her. Like, why? What is this? And my great grandmother was very, very clear. And my great grandmother is somebody that I was really close to when I was a little girl. And the reason why I was so close to her is because my mother was really close to her. My grandmother had my mother
Right.
when she was 17. So, needless to say, that became grandma's baby, right?
This
And
is a pattern, having kids
yes,
young.
yes. And
Okay.
my great grandmother literally took care of my grandmother's firstborn, right? So, when I asked my great grandmother during that reading, like, what is wrong with my mother? Like, what the fuck made her just click out like that? And my grandmother said, because I was trying to figure out, like, what happened in her childhood that was so bad? Like, who hurt her?
Mm-hmm.
And my great
Yes.
grandmother said, ain't nothing happened to her, honey. That was the most loved child ever. She just a little off. She just a little off. And I thought about that and I thought about that. Now here's where we about to fall out laughing. My mother's nickname is Sweetie. My mother's nickname has been Sweetie since she was about a year old. To this day, people do not know her real name. They only know Sweetie. What do you call
So
a little
there's some
slow
deeply.
child?
Your mother has deeply rooted issues.
What do you call a slow child in the family?
Sweetie.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, that's kind of the name you give people when there's so many of them and you forget their names. Cause there's only four of us, and my grandmother called. I was my sister so many times. So
No, it's a difference when it's a whole bunch of children and you start calling Raheem John and John Kevin and Kevin Malik. That's something different. But when it's one that that ain't gonna be able to survive this whole earth by themselves, that's sweetie baby. That's sweetie baby.
so
Yeah.
how old were you when you realized like when it turned to so you in between 6 years old and let's say about 18, did she ever come in and out of your life or she was just gone?
A couple of times. She showed up. Oh God. Oh shit, man, the strap in. So prior to, I would say between age 7 and like 11, so right before I went to university, she would pop up once every like 15 months. And she would pop up in random places, like me and my brother be outside in school playing on the blacktop or something. She'd pop up and she would take us. And we would be gone for weeks, sometimes months. And we would be in every hotel, motel, and Holiday Inn up and down I-95. South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Virginia sometimes. And she would keep us until the law caught up with her. And then they would find her, they would come get us, and they would have to drive us back to Jersey. But because state troopers cannot necessarily cross state lines unless there's like active
Right.
emergency, we would get dropped off at the last trooper, little trooper houses, and then the next state would take us across the state, and we would do that all the way back to the beginning of New Jersey.
Does she understand she have a mental condition?
I don't know what she understands. I
When was the
don't.
last time you spoke to her?
Ironically, she called me on her birthday,
Which is
October 1st.
don't
No, that's it was funny.
would she call you and say what?
I just wanted to talk to you. I bet the fuck you did. I bet you did on your birthday. I bet you did, ma'am. I bet you did. I bet you did. Happy birthday, though. Have a good one.
Okay, so there's confirmed mental issues there. So she just
Oh,
didn't walk away. Okay, now that part I didn't know. So she just didn't walk away knowingly. Well, technically still knowingly, but when there's like a mental condition,
makes me think that
it
it's okay to do that.
right, and there's a little bit of space for a little grace because you say, well, she's kind of like doesn't understand what she's doing.
There is space for grace, um, because I'm 50 and because I just know that humans don't remember what they're put here for. We don't remember anything at birth. We don't understand that process. We don't get it. We just do shit. Um, there is enough grace to just say, that's sweetie. But there is never going to be enough grace where I want to be her friend. There is never going to be enough
Mhm.
grace where I want to sit down and have a fucking conversation with her. For what?
So that kind of answers my other one of my questions was reconciliation has much to do with transformation, and it's like
So,
moving from a place of separation, hurt, and brokenness. So you don't even need all that because you understand that there's something off there.
and there
So
has to
it can never give you the explanation that you want.
no, there's no,
Got it.
there's what can you say about abandoning your child? Like, as a mom, if you walked away from your child today and popped up on him again at 50 years old, what the fuck could you say that would make that okay? No matter what the situation was, even if aliens came down and took you to another planet for 40 years.
Well, I just think that like there's things that happen in people's lives that they don't deal with
Hmm.
that cause them to be who they are. So we don't know what happened to her. She wasn't I don't think she was born a little off. Something had to have happened to her for her to
And this is what I'm
be
saying.
the person that she is.
When I got that reading, that is what made it very clear. There is a mental defect in there. What it is, I don't know. She's never gotten it looked at, and because of the year and the time in which she was born, black folk wasn't running to no psychiatrist, psychologist,
Right,
therapist, no nothing. You know what I'm saying? And if you admitted that your black child was a little off, they were
right.
institutionalized for life.
So
And a lot of
she had to be off before your dad procreated with her. He just wanted some crazy.
people, yeah, but he,
Okay.
what the
Yeah.
fuck, he off too.
Jesus.
That nigga wild as hell. Yeah. Yeah, he a little off too. But I think for her, there just is that grace of, okay, you're human. But there will never ever be the grace of, yeah, I want to sit down and reconcile. I don't need it anymore. I thought I did when I was a lot younger. I wanted it desperately.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I made several desperate attempts over my lifetime to push for that reconciliation, to have that reconciliation, opening my home when my brother started having kids, like packing the kids up and running them to her and making sure that the kids knew their grandma, and, all of the things. And none of that struck a chord within her to make her be like, you know what?
Yeah.
I I kind of fucked up with my kids, but I got these here grandbabies, and I can do
How do
better.
how do you move past that hurt though? That because even in the face of mental illness, there's some people that know they have mental illness. For example, bipolar. But you also know that you can go get help for that to to create a baseline for yourself, so you're not as erratic. So at some point, she doesn't want to. She just made a conscious decision.
To
Excuse
stay,
me, not to get help for her mental issues. How does that affect you?
it it brings to the reality of no matter what is happening, people gonna make whatever decisions that they feel are best for them. It brings forth the reality in terms of her being my mother that my parents are nothing more than vessels. Again, they it it wasn't part of their overall job to do the parenting. It was just their job to get me here. Job
So
well
who
done.
raised you if they didn't? Who do you contribute to you being the person you are, to getting you through high school, to getting you through post secondary education, to getting you an amazing job, to moving you out of the state, to function every day with
Literally,
these parents? Who do you attribute that to?
my ancestors and myself. I did not have adults like that in my life that were looking out for
So
me.
the aunts, no aunts or anything like that. That's another question that I had.
So my mother's four
Did the women in
sisters.
your right? I said my question was: did the women in your life rally
Mhm,
around you and your feelings,
mhm.
or did you have to navigate your healing journey alone? So you
Navigated it,
clearly saying that no one helped you through this.
navigated it alone. So my mother's four sisters. Aunt Bonnie died when I turned 13. So that was that. And she was on drugs and unfortunately died of AIDS. So she was gone. Aunt Lisa started completely wilding the fuck out. So she was out of the picture, like in and out of jail, off and on drugs. That went on for like a good 10, 15 good years. Aunt Robin and Aunt Carla went to college in Atlanta and they never, ever, ever, ever
Never
came
look back.
to Jersey. Never. They will come to Jersey if one of their sister's kids is getting married or if someone dies. And the someone that dies, it needs to be like one of the kids. They not coming back for
So they
nothing.
don't have anything to do with anybody else in the family.
Look, if I pop up in Atlanta right now and call either one of them, yeah, Pocket OT, come on over. But if I call them and be like, yeah, I'm throwing Rashid's grandson a birthday party, they'll be like, send pictures. Yeah, they not coming to Jersey for none of that shit. They're not. Mm-mm. They never look back. So no, I didn't. And it was crazy because again, growing up them first 6 years, like I'm back and forth between my grandmother's house in Newark and my grandmother's house or my great grandmother's house in Asbury Park. All I understand is being around a shit ton of family every single day. Every
Yeah.
single day. That's the only thing that I understand. And then, even when we went to go live with Wajid, my grandmother still made it her business to link up with my father, and she would either come visit us and take us out like to eat or something, or she would make him bring us down and we'd all spend the day together or something like that. But my mother just was in the fucking wind doing her thing. And everybody else is so interesting that question came up. I asked one of my aunts recently, one of my grandmother's sister-in-law. Aunt Harriet, and I asked, I was like, "Did y'all know that like Sweetie ain't have her kids? Like, or was y'all like
Yeah,
okay?"
so that's my like where does what about her mother or your father's mother? Because that's kind of what happened in my family. At least, thank God, the grandparent unit was there.
So my father's mother, I ended up becoming her caretaker. So here's what my life looked like when we was in seventh grade. This is what my mornings looked like. I
Yeah,
would
because we let's be clear. When I say seventh grade, we went to university. There was junior high.
School. It
That's
started
seventh
off
and
with
eighth grade.
wow, school within a school.
And and what was very difficult to navigate with people to understand is the building wasn't separate. So
No,
we was mingling the halls with 12th graders. We mingled with a high school
literally
at 7th and 8th graders. So we seen a lot of stuff.
that.
And it kind of grew you up maturely really
Yeah,
fast.
it forces it. It forces it on
Yeah.
you.
Between the
Um,
advanced academics, what I'm not saying, and I don't mean bad things. I mean just adult things that middle schoolers shouldn't see
yeah, they just you just
in a
shouldn't
high school
you shouldn't
situation.
have to navigate that at 11 and 12 years old. It was a lot.
Yes,
It was a
it was a
lot.
lot.
And on top of that, like we growing up in Newark, so that's already a lot. And we're in a school that's not our district school. So everybody
Yeah,
that's in there is from a different neighborhood. So this is like major
yeah.
confusion. Nobody knows their place. Everybody's trying to fit in. It's a mess. And not to mention it was the age
I don't.
of
I think
people.
I didn't find my place until I was about a sophomore.
Girl, I didn't find my place until I was probably 30. Shit. Like
Mhm.
yeah, it's yeah, yeah, about that
So
much.
so so I wouldn't. So when I actually one of the questions was did the abandonment issues manifest themselves in your relationships? So basically, the people attribute your behaviors or how you behave in a relationship to your mother's abandonment. But technically, we can't put
Mhm.
everything on her because some of your father played a part. He wasn't the greatest
So
American hero either.
my behavior in relationships was honestly not the issue. My choices were the issue.
Oh,
My choices. Yeah. No, I was
so you made bad
definitely
choices
what?
because you was looking for something you didn't have. That typical, right?
Girl, what I was looking for was safety. What I was looking for was
Mm.
protection. So what that meant, the biggest, tallest, blackest, drug dealingest, gun totingest little boy I could find.
Do y'all hear that? Your children are looking for safety. Say it
Yes,
again. Safety and
safety
protection.
protection, not love. I ain't worried about whether or not you like me because look, I'm 4'10, my stomach is flat, I could wear 5-inch stills. I'm good. I'm good in these streets. I'm not worried about whether or not I'm cute. You ain't got to like me. Nigga, are you thorough enough to make other niggas turn away from me when we walking down the street? Can you
And that's
keep your
because you
distance?
didn't feel protected at home.
Never, never, never. Imagine me. You were there when I was in high school and this fucking big. Imagine me
Yeah.
having to be the person that protected the home because I had a father who would do shit like come home from work on a Tuesday, hand me like $70 and be like, make sure you and your brother eat. I'll be back on Sunday. Nigga, what? It's Tuesday. I'm 12. He 11. Where you going?
Damn, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And meant it. And so this is the parenting. This is the parenting.
That's not parenting.
This is not
So
parenting
I
at
can't
all.
believe a judge. So he must have put up a good facade for a judge to think that that was better than what your mother was doing.
So at the time when we were 6 years old, he was married. He had a rip. My father always had a good job. Always did, the whole criminal enterprise of Newark. He was he started that whole Kenneth Gibson wave. He always had a job, and then when Sharp James became a mayor, he always had a job with the city. He always had a good job, always.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that definitely, led to brownie points in that judge's decision, obviously, right?
Mm. Influence.
Right, right. But he was on drugs and a very functioning drug addict,
Mm-hmm.
huge social butterfly. Um, and so he didn't care about me or my brother. Like we were not his concern at all. Not ever. Never.
Were you sad? All those like,
Um,
did that make you sad?
it I don't think sad was it. I was more angry than sad.
Yeah.
I was very angry a lot as a kid. But sad
Where do you put
sad
that
was not
anger?
it. Huh?
Where do you put that? Where do you put that anger? Where did you put that anger?
As a kid at that age? Oh girl,
Yeah.
in a cup. Yeah, in a cup. In a cup, and it was in the form of Red Bull, and Red Bull, that's the 40 ounce, y'all, not the Red Bull gives you wings. No, the 40.
So you became drinking. How old was you when you started drinking?
12. 12. Yep. Me and my
Y'all
homegirl.
stop becoming parents when y'all not ready, man. And nowadays, I have a couple of friends that work for diapers. How did you and your brother slip through the cracks of the social workers and the teachers?
Let me tell you something. Let me explain to you how I got out of university high
That
school.
still that still doesn't so he's allowed to
Really?
do this just because
Yes,
he wow.
yes. I'm gonna explain to you how, and I know that we're all friends in social media with all of our old teachers and stuff. So shout out to this teacher that I'm about to call out. And I love that lady. She was a huge influence on me.
She's
My
still
father,
far.
okay, my father knew all of the fucking boosters. Could get you any
So
damn thing. I played the
so
most
what we're saying here on the More Sugar podcast is that she was paid off.
with a fur
To look
coat,
the other way
with a
at your
couple of
situation,
my attendance was a big issue. I played a lot of hooky. A lot. I did. I Junior year. I want to say like sophomore year. From sophomore year on, I'd rather go to work than come to school. And so every
so his
year,
influence got you through school to pass.
yeah,
Even like
every year it became a really big issue about my attendance, like because I had missed so many days. I was like, "Bitch, you're not going to the next grade," and all of a sudden, he'd be like, "Come on, I'm taking you to school today." Hell, you don't never take us to school. What you talking about? And it's a bag of mink coat, and we walking in the building, and he going straight, and I'm going to the 11th grade.
wow, bombshell. I wish I had what's his name, Funkmaster Flex bombshell.
Yeah, that shit. Yeah. Mhm, mhm, mhm. Again, my
I
father.
had. I'm sorry, I was stuck for a
I
minute
know. I
because
saw it in your
I don't
face.
know
It's
if
like
I lived.
the math, because the math is like, what the fuck? Yeah, girl.
It just goes to show that each and every one of us was going through so much.
Yes.
We didn't know what trauma the other person was going through.
We were all literally it was a very interesting dynamic that all of us came together. Very interesting the day that we took the test to go in there. Do you remember what happened that day?
No.
The Space Shuttle Challenger blew up. The day we took the test, when all of us were in the 6th grade and we had to come to that damn school to take that test to see if we would get to go there for 7th grade, that was the day that spaceship blew up. Yeah, yeah, yeah. January
Did
24th
you,
of
what
86.
was your district school? Where did you live? What would have been your district school?
I lived in New Community. So at the time I was going to Newton Street School. But again, my father and his foolishness and his, refusal to believe his own reality, that was the first time that I had ever attended a North public school. Newton Street School was the first time that I had ever attended a North public school. Lived in North all my life. When I was 6 years old and we first went to live with him, and he got us, it was the summertime when he got us, and obviously we had to go to school in September. He had us in school in Montclair. And we were in Montclair for a few years until they found out we didn't live in Montclair, so they kicked us out.
You go
Right.
to jail for that now.
Right, right, right. Back then they was just like, your kid can't come here no more, sir. And then
Well, at
we
least he
ended
had
up
the wherewithal to know that there was a better school system.
and then we went to school in East Orange. And then
Or maybe he was just trying to make sure no one found you.
no,
Or maybe he went to places where he can manipulate the situation.
that's what it
No?
was. And also, he is definitely a person about appearance. And so his children were not going to go to North schools. Period. Mm-mm. Nah. Okay, fine. You put us in another school, but you don't pay attention to anything that we're doing or anything that we're learning or anything that's going on. So now I'm in schools in Montclair in the 80s fighting little white kids every day for my life because they're being raised by all of the Bush and Trump supporters. Like it was a while. This is 2nd grade. 2nd grade, and me and my little brother is in here fighting because little kids is calling us niggas and darkies.
So through all of that, aside from the remembering the day that the judge gave your father custody, if you could go to one time in your life, one event that stands out, I think I lost you.
I'm here. I can hear you. Hold on.
Okay, there you go.
Okay.
One event that stands out the most. Which time do you really wish she had been there?
My mother? Ooh.
Yeah.
I would say it happened after I was an adult, well into my adulthood. It happened after I moved to North Carolina. Um, I had a major, major health issue that I had been fighting with for like 20 years, and finally met some doctors down here that were willing to resolve the issue the way that I wanted it to be resolved. And the medication that I got after that surgery definitely sent my ass overboard. It really, really did. The first thing that happened was I broke out from head to toe, so that was scary. And I'm talking like it looked like heat rash, literally from my hairline to the tip of my toes. And I'm like, what is happening? So, of course, you go back to the doctor. Fix this. They give me another medication. Okay, it fixes it. Skin is clear as a bell. Yay. But now I'm like super depressed and all of my joints are achy. What is happening, y'all? I don't understand. Then I go and do more research into the medication, and yeah, that was part of the things that it does. And I was like, okay, I don't know how to get out of this. So now I'm like severely depressed. I'm looking around at my house and I'm like, Salima, you haven't cleaned anything, you haven't cooked anything. You're just getting up, showering, going to work, coming to bed, showering. Like you're not, what are you doing? And I remember calling my mother crying. And I was like, I don't know what's wrong. I think I'm depressed. I don't know how to handle it. Can you please just come help? Like, I'll pay for it. I just need you to come for like a week. Just at least help me get this house in order. And I think I could take it from there. And she was like, yeah. And then she never came. I think oh, there you go. I'll say I lost you for a second. And then she never
You
came.
never came?
I have been living in North Carolina for 15 years. My mother has never crossed my threshold. Let me say that again. I have been
So
living
you
in North
caught her
Carolina.
begging for help. You caught her begging for help.
Yes. I had
Did
major
she say she
surgery.
was coming and didn't come, or did she just?
No, she was like, I'll be there and never came.
Also, she lied, said she was gonna come and didn't come.
Hmm. Hmm.
Where you put that rejection?
At that point, it was the closing of the rejection. That was
Okay,
rejection that I
so
had
that was
lived
the
with
last
my
straw for you.
entire life. Yeah. So for me,
That
it
was
was
it.
like, that's it. We done. Fuck it. Like, whatever, son. Mhm. And it was also a wake up call. And it served as a huge, huge lesson for me up until this day, and it was like, yo, you got to do this. There is nobody coming for you. If you find yourself in that situation again, you better do every single thing that you know how to do before you pick up the phone and ask for help, because there is going to be the chance that you ain't going to get it. And if I need help and I don't get it, that for me is confirmation of, before you receive help, you got some other things that you need to do. And so, sometimes you just got to sit with it and figure it out as much as you can, as much as you can. And it it was one of those situations where it's like I just wanted my mom. You know what I'm saying? I just wanted my mother.
Yeah,
And to not get what I wanted when I felt like I really, really needed it. Because there have been other, crazy major things that have happened in my life. When I was getting
right.
divorced, I did actually go stay with her for like a minute. That was a wild week. But she showed up and presented herself because she thought she was going to get something out of that situation.
Yeah,
Not because I'm in this fucked up predicament, I've lost everything and I need help. It was literally,
you coming to take advantage.
she literally thought my ex-husband was going to pay her for me being there.
That's just the same concept that your father kind of had with the school.
Mhm. 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 And so when
So
that
how do you reconcile these feelings? Do you need, like, I won't say need, like, so you just go through life like right now, like every day you wake up and they're just out of your mind now. There was no
no,
therapy needed.
no, there's so, oh God, no, there's years of trying different things. There is years
Gotcha.
of self-abuse. There's years of just that idle wondering and wandering.
Yeah,
And then you get to a space where you do reconcile, but it's an inner reconciliation. It ain't got nothing to do with none of them.
that
Like,
has to be a strength though, because um, most people, including myself, um, need you basically did what the Republicans tell people do. You basically
pull
pulled
yourself
yourself
up
up
by the
by your bootstrap. Like there's not once did I hear you mention, and I know you're Muslim, so not once did you
boot.
mention, oh, I had to uh, go to my spirituality, I had to go to a therapist. I didn't hear you mention the two main things that help 85% of the people overcome the obstacles that you have been presented with. So you just got this inner strength and said,
Here's the thing, I've
That
been
one
to
hour.
therapy. Yeah, that definitely happened, and I've been to therapy, but that shit really didn't work for me, and Imma tell you why, and it doesn't work for a lot of us because and I went to therapy a lot in the '90s, um, it was just not Africanized enough. It was just
So you
not
didn't have a black
Africanized
therapist.
enough. And we have to understand when we're talking about therapy and psychology, we have to understand what that word psychology means. Everybody wants to, oh, it's the study of the mind. No, when you do the breakdown of that ancient ass Greek or Latin word, psycho means soul. It's the study of the soul. So when you understand that it is your soul that has to be attended to, it is your soul that has to be studied, you then understand why you're not feeling any differently going to see this therapist week after week, month after month, why you still feel overwhelmed and anxiety and all of the things, right? Or why you
I don't
get through
I
it.
don't know if I lucked up or if I was just, I want to say blessed, because the first therapist I ever went to,
Mhm.
she touched my soul immediately. And I
Yes,
sat
that's
there
a
and she asked me,
blessing.
why was you here? And I poured out my heart to her. I'm crying. She's handing me tissues. And the first thing she said to me was like, damn, that's fucked up.
Yeah.
And that's what I needed to hear at the moment, to know that,
Yes.
okay, this is how I've been feeling, so you can treat me. And it was a white woman. That was the best therapist I ever
You
had.
understood it's the
Yes.
study of the soul. And when you understand that and you present that to me, that I am here to help you study your soul, we can get somewhere. But when you rock up in this room and you're presenting that you're going to help me fix my mind, and there's nothing wrong with my fucking brain, there's nothing wrong with my mind. It is my
It's a
soul.
feeling you need to fix.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
my soul that needs to really amalgamate with my body and move forward. We don't understand that enough. And so we end up in these loops. I feel good. I don't. I'm going back to therapy. I feel good. I don't. I'm going back to therapy. I feel good. It's like a swinging pendulum because we're not getting to the root cause of it. And the root cause of it is in in spite of all that has happened, am I able to stand here flat footed, 10 toes flat, and say all of this shit happened for me and not to me?
Yeah.
And when
But
you
when
can
you find out
understand,
that, when you discover that on your own, you do kind of be like, what do I need a therapist for?
nigga, because seriously, and because of the predicament of me and my mother, or my mother and her shit, I have not come across a therapist in the world that can even try to dissect and understand. Like the same way that you have like one question will spark 10 like, but wait, how? Wait, you don't think she's crazy? But
Yes.
wait. It was the
Yes.
same in therapy sessions, and it's like I'm just trying to tell you what the hell done happened to me, baby. I'm just trying to tell you what happened last week. I don't
What if
know.
one day what if one day her light a light switched on and she wanted to reconcile and do some soul work with you? Would you be willing to do that
No,
with her?
no, no, no,
Huh?
mm-mm, no. It's not my job. It's not my job. Mm-mm. The same way that whatever
So she's
burden,
gonna die and you're not gonna go to her funeral.
I haven't decided that yet.
Okay.
I haven't decided that yet. But the same way that if you have things that you need to deal with in your soul, no
Right.
amount of me sitting there with you is going to help you. That's some shit you got to do. You have to acknowledge what you've done, how it has caused impact for others. You have to forgive yourself, and then you can come have a conversation with me. But don't pull me into it thinking that me being here is justification for you doing your work and yay, look at me. No, do it yourself, girl. You got it. You got it.
So
You got
knowing
it.
how old you 49, right?
Yep.
So you go, this is your 50th year
This
too,
is
right?
50. Yeah.
So knowing what you know today,
Mhm.
what would you say to 17-year-old Salima or 16-year-old Salima? Then think back to a pivotal crossroad in your life where you could say if someone would have gave me a little bit of what I know now, your life was there's the part of your life that would have turned out differently. Instead of going left, you could have went right and you could have been somewhere totally else right now.
Mhm. I would
What
have
would you
told
say to
myself
17?
to 17, 16-year-old me, I would have told myself, research how to emancipate yourself.
Mm.
Research it now.
Because
Get
that
rid
was the
of
only thing that we
it.
heard that white kids doing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would, if I had a time machine and I could go back to the little girl that lived in New Community at 15, 16 years old, I would tell that little girl, carry your ass to the library tomorrow morning and dig into emancipating yourself. And whatever you have to do to fill out that court paperwork, get it done. Because at this point, I know how to pay bills. I know how to take care of
Mhm.
children. I've already been responsible for caring for an elderly person. Like I'm out here, totally off the porch. What are we doing? Why do I have to still be attached to these two crazy people?
So have you come across other women like doing your soul facing? Have you come across other women with the same
Mhm.
um
Mhm. Plenty of them. Plenty of them. And the thing that I find the most is that they all they all want to be validated, and they don't it's hard to understand that you do not need validation. Like, stop seeking validation and start experiencing confirmation.
so validation in the sense of I made it without you.
No, validation
Look
in
what
the
I did.
no, no. Validation in the sense of when your son does something, your son is an artist. Anytime he sits down and he draws a picture and he says, Mama, look at what I did, you say, that is the dopest shit I ever seen in my life. Excellent job. High five, my nigga. Right? That's
Right, but if they've never
validation.
had it, how can we fault them for wanting it?
No, we can't fault them for wanting it, but they have to understand you don't need it. You've had to live a life where it did not exist. It does not serve you in your adulthood. Anything I do at work, I create a presentation, I run a report, I do a masterful spreadsheet. I don't need you motherfuckers to validate me. I don't need nobody emailing
You
me
don't
telling me
think that
great presentation. I need you to pay me on Friday.
you don't think that that's a facade that you created to protect your inner soul, your child, your inner child?
No, my inner
Because
child
we say we don't need it,
wants
but it feels
validation.
good.
Oh, my inner child wants all of the validation. She definitely does. And I get that when
Right,
my 6-year-old niece comes over here and we play and she teaches me a new game and I figure it out. And she be like, good job, Auntie. Yeah, we gets it. But in my daily life, I don't
right.
need another human to validate anything that I am or do or say. I just don't require that to exist. Children need it because the only
Yeah.
way that they know they do exist is if there is a parent confirming it for them and validating it for them. But when you don't get it and you have to learn through the I don't even want to call it the cruelty of the world because it's not necessarily cruel. It just is. When you learn it, that that's not coming for you, you learn to stay straight with confirmation. And you don't know what that
Hmm.
is. You don't really understand that language until you get much, much, much older. And for me, confirmation is when I moved into this space 15 years ago, I got a 2 bedroom. It's only me, but I got a 2 bedroom. And I said to myself, get a 2 bedroom because you never know, whose kids is going to end up here. Right? Because that's also been a
Hmm.
theme in my life. I have 65 nieces and nephews. Um,
You're
and
exaggerating, right?
no, I'm not. No, I'm dead ass. There's 65 of them. It's 65. And I have had my hand heavily in all of their lives. Absolutely.
6'5".
65. Between niece, nephews, and godkids, it's 65. I don't for a long time, Mandy, and you about to holler. I swear to God though, I used to always feel like kids were drawn to me because we're the same size. And it's like
I do call you 5'2". You've been the same size. Like,
I'm really not 5'2". And I love that you call me that because I be like, yeah, but I'm really not. I've never been 5'2", and I never will be 5'2". Never. Uh-uh. No, we're 4'8", and that's where it stopped. But
so do you give them everything that you didn't get?
and more, and
Okay, so
more.
that's the good thing out of this. It didn't turn you to a stone cold hard
Nah,
bitch.
no, no. I'm that auntie. I am that
Okay,
fucking auntie.
that's
Okay.
that. I feel good. I feel better. I
Yeah.
feel good about. So
Yeah.
that's the healing and encouragement in this. That as damaged as you was, it didn't turn you into Cruella Deville.
No, it didn't. And it actually created a hypervigilance in me around children that will never ever die. Never. There's nothing that you can say about anybody's child that will not cause me to completely tilt your ass. We're not doing
So you
it.
become an advocate for the
No,
kids.
not advocate. This is beyond advocation. No, this ain't
Okay,
advocate. This something else. I turns tables over for children. Yeah.
that's dope. So we gonna in wrapping this up. I have one question that wasn't on there. With me turning, if you could think back, it was a long time ago to high school. Well, since six, that was 89, 88 to 92 to who I was, and me turning 50 now. What advice would you give 17-year-old Mandy? So we known each other from 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Let's say around the 10th grade.
10th grade
I think
man.
I started hanging with the clique at that point.
Yeah. And that was funny as hell to watch. It was
Yeah,
so
but I was
funny. It
it
was.
was
It really, really
and
was.
we were
But it was also very dope to be to watch to be there to see it, to be of it but not of it, if that makes sense.
mhm, mhm.
Um the advice that I would have for 17-year-old you is that you're way bigger than them
Bigger how.
in every way. Your personality, your determination, your
Mm,
morality. Like you have
I
always
didn't know that.
had you've always had a hell of a moral compass when no one else
I
has.
have.
You really, really
Yes.
always have. You always have. And it's like, and don't be offended by this, but it's that nigga moral compass. That like a fair fight is a
It's
fair
a
fight.
sense of where I'm from.
Yeah, the nigga moral
And I was
compass.
and more or less yes, more or less of a compass. I think it was a code.
Yes. The nigga
A
moral
street
compass.
code. I was raised by a street code. Yeah.
Yes. But a lot of the kids that we went to school with didn't live in neighborhoods where that existed.
No, it didn't.
A lot of the kids that we went to school with didn't live in those neighborhoods. And so when I saw that, I immediately recognized what it was. I understood. And that's not something to be spoken. It just is like, that's a cool motherfucker,
Yeah,
right?
like a head nod.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And to see the friend groups that we had and to see you were the star of your friend group at that time.
I
You
was
were
and I didn't even know it.
Yeah, you really were. You really, really were. You were the star of your friend group at that time. And
I was the most shyest popular person ever.
yeah. But you would so for me, watching the shy seventh grader become the comedic 10th, 11th grader, it was natural to see that. By that time, we was all like, look, it's just us anyway. Fuck.
I think I became funny because I thought it was a way to get the girls. Like I wanted the girls to,
Dead.
like
Dead. What?
by then I was like, wait, oh they
Hey,
think I'm funny.
all I could say is bitches love to laugh.
They
Come
they
on,
they
like
think I'm funny, so this might work.
bitches love to laugh.
But
So
the funny thing is, I always had relationships outside of school. I never had relationships in school with
no,
nobody in school.
who
I
was
was
in
always
school?
afraid that somebody was gonna
No,
tell
you
my
did
secret.
have one in school.
Oh, Gabe, no, it's about women.
My man.
No, he and I are still friends.
That's what's up. Next time you see him, give him a shout for me, please.
Yeah, I talk to him often. He's my friend.
And
He,
Gabe, I believe I went to Newton Street with Gabe. Like I knew Gabe before we ended up in university. I believe I went to Newton Street School with him, or some kind of way. He was living in New Community around the same time that I was living in New Community, but I knew him before we went to university. And I remember being
mm-hmm,
like super fucking happy when I saw him there, like, I'm
a
safe.
familiar face.
See, because Gabe, he same moral compass, like, and Gabe was always very, very, very protective of people that were smaller than him. Like
Mm-hmm.
that was him, and it was another dude that we went to school with. He was a lot older than Eugene. I can't think of his last
Gene.
name, Gene. But the two, and they both was big and tall like Gabe, but they were very,
Mm-hmm.
very, very protective of people my size. Like whenever I saw Gabe, nobody
You
could
knew it
see
was gonna be all
me,
right.
nobody could come near me, like none of the things. And me and him just sit there and have a good time. We used to plug the soda machine up and steal sodas. Like, come on. He showed me how to do it. He would stuff the phone with tissue and then go in there and pull the tissue out and get all of the quarters, and then we plug the soda machine up and get some damn sodas.
Soul facing. Are you still doing it?
Still doing it. Understanding that my audience is not on the internet. And so I had to take a different route. But yes, still very much doing it. Still working on some other things because in doing it, I started to understand my audience is, like I said, not necessarily on the internet like that, but also it wasn't the group of people that I thought I was going to be talking to. I thought I was
Mm-hmm.
going for the women my age with this particular issue. And what the
Mm-hmm.
universe literally gave to me was all of their daughters.
Mm. A different generation.
How yeah, and remember when we talked and I said no, these bitches in the night they had babies in the 90s, they left their babies too because all of their babies became my clients, all
Mm-hmm.
30-year-old women, and I'm like, are you
Dealing with abandonment
serious?
issues.
Yes, I'm like, are you serious? And it's dope at the same time, weird sometimes. It's dope because I was there in the 90s. I understand what their mamas was doing. I get it. And so I can help them understand that part. But it's weird because I'm like, how the fuck did y'all do that to these babies? We survived crack. And then y'all turned around and did this to the babies?
Well, something before we go, something you said to me like during one of our pre-conversations prior to you us talking about recording this. I spoke about generational curses, and
Mhm.
you corrected me and you said it's not generational curses, it's generational trauma.
Yes.
So that energy, I think Jay-Z rapped about it too. Energy is passed. You pass your energy when you have through your child,
Yes.
whether that energy is negative or positive, that energy is passed to your child. So if you aren't aware of what energy that you're carrying from your previous life or your ancestors that passed to you, at some point somebody has to stop that charge of energy. And
Mhm.
so
Redirected.
I thank you for giving me a different thinking, a perspective of thinking, because I'm no longer going to say there's a generational curse, because words have power. So I'm not cursed in any way. There's just
Not.
generational energy that I have to cut off from me to prevent it from going to my son.
Look into epigenetic tags. Look into the works of Dr. Joy DeGruy, Degruy. She wrote a book called Post Traumatic Slave Syndrome.
Mm,
And she talks heavily about the epigenetic tags that have been on us for the last 500 years that we're not fully aware of. And one example that she talks about it in several interviews, but she actually wrote it in the book, and she talks about how there's a white mom and a black mom, and they're at a recital or something, and the kids are performing, and the white mom looks over to the black mom and she says, "Oh my God, that's your son?" She's like, "He's fabulous. He's great. He's doing this. He's playing that piano. Oh my God, he's great. And I heard he's doing really, really well in math class, and you should be so proud." And the black mom says, "Yeah, but child, you just don't know. He gives me hell at home." And da, 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 da. And she immediately starts to take the conversation away from her son, and then pops up and says, "But you're Charlie. Your Charlie is a great artist, and your Charlie is doing this and doing that and doing this." And she says, anybody looking at that conversation would immediately be upset with the black mother, because why are you kicking your son's back in right now? But what we don't
yeah.
understand is that is a response to post slavery. That is a response to, if you think my child is that good, you're gonna take him. So
Mm. He's downplaying his
let me tell
ability,
you
so
he's
out of
not that
fear.
good. Let me make sure that you understand. You seeing good stuff, but you get him at the house, he gonna tear your nerves up. Let me make sure that I make you think in every possible way that you don't want to take my child from me. And we don't know why we do these things. We don't know that we do these things. Another example that she gave is being in a bank and seeing a mother with two white children and a mother with three black children. And the black children are standing straight in line. They in the line with the mother. They not moving. They not even thinking about moving. The white children running up and down the lane and running up and down and in the lollipop bowl and the this and the that. And nobody is saying anything to this woman about her children. But the minute this black woman's children slightly step out of line, you hear the huffs and the puffs and the stares. And she says, so we condition our children before we go into these places. Don't talk to nobody, don't touch nothing, don't ask for nothing. Da, da, da. And all of these are post-traumatic slave syndromes. Check it out. It's deep work. Deep, deep work.
So if someone wanted to do some soul facing, how would they find you?
You can still contact me through Instagram. You can contact me through Facebook. Yeah, both of them are soul facing.
Okay. Thank you for an enlightening conversation. And when I say enlightening, it helped me understand not just you, but with what somebody very close to me and my family went through,
Mhm.
um abandonment of a mother. So close that I can't even say.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it just helps me understand how his mother not being around led to the way he treated women.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
So
yeah.
this was a very enlightening conversation.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate this.
And I thank you for taking the time to talk to me and be so candid and honest with our audience.
I'm here for it, man. We gotta heal. We gotta heal. I got one thing that I need to add, and this is more for your audience or anybody else who sees this or hears this. When you come across someone who is not in alignment with their parents the way that traditionally we would like to see ourselves or to see other people that look like us, right? Please do not tell them that they should talk to their parent. Please do not tell
Mm,
them that you only got one mama. Please do not tell them, "Oh, that's your mama." Don't say none of that because you don't know what their mother has done to them. You
that's
don't know
good.
how their mother has made them feel. In the same way that they only got one mama, guess what? Their mama only got one of them.
That's good.
Okay?
My pastor always say, don't preach after nobody said a word. So that's the word. So with
Okay.
that, thank you so much, Salima.
I
Have
love
a
you,
good
Miss
night.
Rashida. Good
I
night,
love you. I
baby.
love you. Have a good night.
You too.